Jai Bhakti Lamasa Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
First question is from Sulakshana Devi Dasi, Shenzhen Center.
Hare Krishna.
When we are dealing with different people, we can feel different chemistry, like some are friendly and some are even consuming your energy so that you feel very tired. What is this energy? Is that the exploitative tendency?
Well, we have to answer this question within the devotional context. So, in a word, you understand the principle of sangha, or association, because, as implied in this question, you have a certain amount of energy and feeling the loss of that. That won't be felt in the association of devotees, because it's what Guru Maharaj sometimes called there's an out-carrying current and an in-carrying current. So the out-carrying current means, the Bhava Turanga, the waves of this world. And that's, we consider depletion. The in-carrying current means being consciousness being directed, taken, carried, driven towards the central conception of the infinite, Krishna conception. And that the end result of that will be life-giving, right? An enhanced position. Told sadhu sangha satovare, through superior association, we feel ourselves awakening to improved ways of seeing and weighing, assessing, attributing value to things. Otherwise, we're left to our own egocentric imposition of value, like Solzhenitsyn and his Harvard commencement address. It's called The World Split Apart. So he referred to what he called the disastrous deviation of the Enlightenment, which means enlightenment in the context of the so-called Enlightenment thinkers, what's known in Europe as the Enlightenment. He said where they replaced God, removed God from the center and installed man as the center and the measure of all things, whether or not they're valuable or not. And we have, ironically, the ultimate extension of this is the social network in modern context, that someone's thinking that, I think it's sort of like vox populi, vox dei. The more likes you get, the more popular opinion vote that approve of you, then you have divine-like status, right? That's how you judge your wealth or your value. So this means, in a word, egocentrism, thinking that, or what do they call it? Solipsism. You think, I'm really the only thing that could be known. And so by extension, things that are related to me are valuable or not valuable. Someone wrote an article once on the theme of the context of no context. And he was speaking ironically, but talking about in the last few generations of young people, meaning becoming so contextual that outside of their immediate group, their jargon and their sense of worth and value has no meaning to other people. Only they can understand it because it's within a particular context, and it's eliminated what came before historically and is not so much concerned what will come after. So we're trying to concern ourselves with reality. Right? That means understanding the material world as the world of exploitation. Jivo jivasya jivanam. We talk about a loss of energy or life potential. That's what it says in the Bhagavatam verse. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One living being is living at the expense of another. Right? That's the rule of thumb for the world of exploitation. Right? That's the way it's expressed in the Bhagavatam and Darwinian evolution as survival of the fittest. Right? That's the expression, right? Yeah, survival of the fittest. Right? Or the Bhagavatam spells it out a little more clearly. One living being living at the expense of another. Right? So we're inclined by observation to think that this is how we will thrive or be successful in the material world. Right? It's capturing the energy of others. Right? So much so that we can't conceive that there could be a plane that's just the inverse. Like Srila Guru Maharaj will describe the spiritual world by saying it's that plane where the soil itself is composed of superior substance to yourself. Right? And the soil itself has your interest at heart. Just as here, the inverse, we have to think that everything's potentially threatening to us. The water, the air. We were discussing this earlier today, like the air that we breathe. Right? Madhusudan Maharaj thinks when he comes here, it's like just wonderful fresh air. And normally I would say probably 10 months out of the year that's true. But now they're having the great burn-off, where they, instead of plowing things under, they burn everything. It takes around 2 months. So it means now the air is our enemy, potentially. The water, we can't drink the water that comes here. We have to filter it, purify it somehow, then we can consume it. And so many things. People will go to subtler things, talking about the airwaves, how they're polluted, meaning radio waves, television, other types of media. And there's something to be said for that. We know in the famous Back to Godhead article, Descent of the Holy Name, Guru Maharaj is quoted there, where he's quoting the Ayurveda, saying lying in the courts of law and other sorts of untruthfulness end up polluting the environment. And it's interesting, one of the most eloquent voices of environmentalism in the from let's say 70s, 80s, 90s, was someone named Theodore Roszak. He wrote many books, of which one was, I think he wrote Making of a Counterculture. Or is that Judah? Anyway, his book was called Where the Wasteland Ends. It's a little bit of a reference to the Wasteland poem by T.S. Eliot, but other things. And on the dust cover, they had an excerpt from the book on the back, and it said a quote that was spot on. He said, "What is the environmental disaster that's suddenly looming before us, but the inevitable extension," he's saying, external erosion is the outcome of internal erosion. That was his way of putting it. Seeing that the world has become polluted externally is the outcome of internal pollution. Right? So back to Guru Maharaj's point in that article, quoting the Ayurveda. And by the way, I should mention, I'll take this opportunity to say that, well, I can tell my own story how I first heard that, and that will reveal something about that article. I was as yet uninitiated, and I remember this very clearly. I was in Los Angeles, chopping up vegetables for the Sunday feast. And we had a radio program. I think it was called like The Krishna Show. That's what the name was. The Krishna Show. And it was on a non-profit public radio station. So like 1 hour a week was given, and one devotee would go there and he'd do the show. He'd have some readings, or he'd invite the leader as a guest. And so I remember I'm listening to this show and chopping the veg, and these incredible concepts are broadcasting over the radio, but a devotee's reading it. So I said to someone else, "Oh, so-and-so Prabhu, he has so much realization. I've never heard anything like this." This is 1971. And he says, "Well, actually he's reading a Back to Godhead article. It's written by Achyutananda Swami." And I'm like, "Oh, so Achyutananda Swami, he has such deep realizations." And he said, "Well, actually, the article he's reading, written by Achyutananda Swami, is Achyutananda Swami, his recollections of meetings with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who's a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada." So that's my first conscious remembrance of hearing about Srila Guru Maharaj in this lifetime. But what I want to say is, just as a minor footnote, this is an opportunity. Everything that's written there is not Guru Maharaj. I'm not now going to go into a list of the things that are and aren't. So there's some, what do you call it, poetic license. So some of the things, this is based upon some recordings and some recollection, with a little artistic embellishment for drama or dramatic intensity. So when we read that, we should be careful to understand and look clearly what's in quotes, what's Guru Maharaj speaking, and what are extrapolations on the basis of things that have been heard by Srila Guru Maharaj. So that's one choice that lies before us, is to just be helplessly, hopelessly victims of the external environment that we live in. And by that, I'm not limiting it to the air, water, land thing, but the subtle aspects of the mundane environment, where we're being bombarded at every moment with humanistic propaganda and sloganeering, encouraging us to become exploiting agents or consumers. So what should we expect from the association of people who've been born and bred in this type of system? That's what leads one to seek spiritual association. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, out of all the teachings and the works, writings, the contributions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he distilled as the essence that the most important thing is the association of Vaishnavas. Because we might think, well, Nam San Kirtan Kalo Paramupai, you get everything from the holy name. Half of the slokas in the Shikshastakam are about the holy name. We can read many different things that are helpful or give an emphasis, but we should factor in, consider, and preface our remarks by saying, without the connection of a genuine Vaishnava, you don't get the holy name and all these other things. So Saraswati Thakur saw, this is the most important thing, is association, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra koi, lava matra sadhu sange, sarva siddhi hoy. A moment's association can give perfection. Right? A word from Guru contains everything. What is one of the words we get from Guru? Om, which contains everything. So it's not only metaphorically true, it's literally true. We get Nama, the Nam, what is it? Mahabhakya from Guru. So on the basis of that distillation, Srila Saraswati Thakur inaugurated the Gaudiya Math. And in the process, from the heart-to-heart transaction, means from the heart core consciousness, the deep heart's core of Srila Saraswati Thakur was extended to his disciples. And we can also add to this that he extended to them the capacity to appreciate what he's saying also. I mentioned this to Srila Guru Maharaj as an observation in dealing with him and Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. I was left with the impression that whatever appreciation we might have for their gifts, for the spiritual wealth of Krishna consciousness, that the ability to appreciate it was also a gift. As Guru Maharaj will say elsewhere, agyata sukriti, gyata sukriti, shraddha. And in either Vishwanath or Jiva Goswami are saying, because it goes shraddha, then sadhu sangha, they're saying sometimes in Sanskrit slokas, it's so emphatic, you can reverse those. Because where do you get shraddha from, faith from? But from the sadhu. So here it's saying, you'll have faith, then you get the association of devotees. We can understand also, through this inversion type of analysis, you get the association of devotees, then you have faith, and then you have more association with devotees. So Srila Saraswati Thakur, one by one, he was qualifying people, we can say. Some of them were extraordinarily qualified by their birth, their sanskar. As we hear from Narottam Thakur, Gaura Mandala Bhumi Jeva Chintamani Mani, the land of Gauda, Bengal, Gauda Desh, Chintamani Mani, it's spiritually enriched soil, and Gaurangera Sange Jani Nitya Siddha Kori Mani. So many associates of Mahaprabhu have appeared there, and there are so many lines of descendants. So some of his disciples, in fact, were, we take them all to be exalted souls, but some say super exalted souls with very high qualifications before coming in connection with him. And one such was Saki Charan Babu, who was one of the first people to meet Srila Saraswati Thakur in Mayapur. Srila Keshava Maharaj was another. Guru Keshava Maharaj's sister would cook for Saraswati Thakur sometimes. But anyway, he was there, and Saki Charan Babu was one of the first to hear him preach. Up to that point, he is living more or less a secluded life, taking vast quantities of Krishna Nam, deeply reading the scriptures. But as he got the inspiration to come out and start extending what he had to others, gifting it to others, Saki Charan Babu was the witness to that, how intense those early meetings were, where he said, we couldn't understand what he was saying. And remember, these are highly qualified men. They know some Sanskrit, they've been raised in Bengal, they know who is Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, all of them. Saying, still, it was so high, so deep, so intense. They're sometimes almost frightened by the gesturing, posturing of Saraswati Thakur. He's pounding on the table, his lotus face is flushing red and pink. Guru Maharaj said later, witnessing that himself, we could understand how when they describe in the scriptures the lotus face, he said it looked like pink, red, pink, white, pink, like lotus petals, the different shades that would overcome his face when he would so intensely be representing Krishna conception and trying to extend it to them. And Saki Charan Babu's conclusion was, he said, we couldn't understand everything he was saying, a lot of what he was saying. He said, but what we could understand is he was trying to make us forcibly drink some nectarine substance. So that we could understand. And I like that description because it's similar to what Raghunath Das Goswami says and expresses in Bilapakusumanjali in one sloka. Vairagya yug bhakti rasa prayatne apayam manabipsamandam kripam buriyat paraduka duki sanatanastvam prabhum asrayami. Think why he accepts Sanatana Goswami as his Prabhu, his Lord, his Guru, and seeks his shelter. Saying because the Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasa, this Bhakti Rasa nectarine substance, of which a peripheral effect will be detachment from the mundane. In this sloka, Das Goswami says, I was unwilling to drink that. It's hard. What we've read of Raghunath Das Goswami, it's hard to believe that. But nonetheless, he expresses that way. He said, I was unwilling to drink this, like Saki Charan said. Saraswati Thakur was trying to force us to drink something. And to this day, we can say that. Really, this is the precarious situation that we're in. Krishna consciousness movement is about almost, in a sense, being force-fed this nectarine substance, and we're expressing causeless unwillingness to allow ourselves to be nectarized. We always have an excuse or some reason why. But if we allow the devotees and Guru and Vaishnava to work their magic on us, by trick, by hook, or by crook, however they get us to. When I first went to the temple in Haight-Ashbury, it was December of 1969, it's called the Sri Sri Radha Krishna Temple. And the Ishopanishad, Prabhupada's translation, had just been printed. And so from the ISKCON press in New York, they sent like a little box, maybe 20 copies or something to the temple there. And I was fortunate enough to be there when it arrived. There's 18 mantras there, and then the beginning one, Om Purnam Adak Purnamidam, the famous Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam, going from egocentric to theocentric. Everything's meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Very beautiful. But anyway, it's say mantra. And say like mantra 1, mantra 2, And so before this, I had used the Yi Ching, this Chinese book called the Book of Change, to predict the future, to understand your future. And so they have all these different hexagrams, and so somehow in my mind, there was a segue from the Yi Ching to the Ishopanishad. But I asked the devotees, I was just projecting, I said to a devotee, does this have a mantra for whatever mood you're in? And wisely, that devotee said, yeah, of course, that's, of course. When I read it now, I wouldn't exactly put it that way, that it's got a mantra for every mood you're in. But certainly, whatever your real inner necessity is being addressed there. So, Das Goswami hints at this reluctance to accept this. He's saying, but Sanatana Goswami Prabhu is so kind that he forced me to drink this. The Vairagya Yug Bhakti Rasa Pratnai. And that's his kindness upon me. And to this day, it's the kindness that we could identify in all the agents of Krishna, Mahaprabhu, Srila Saraswati Thakur, and the Bhaktivinoda Paribar. All he, Vilasatu Hridi Nityam Bhakti Siddhanta Vani. He will not allow anyone who's in genuine, substantial connection with him to not preach Krishna consciousness, two negatives. Yeah. He doesn't allow it. You have, if you hear the voice, Vilasatu Hridi Nityam Bhakti Siddhanta Vani, if you hear the voice of Saraswati Thakur in your heart, you have to extend what's been graciously extended you to others. That's all that's being asked. Right? We're told, back to that one word from the Guru is of immense, incomparable, unrepayable value. It's told, if it could give the whole world as dakshin, as pranami, that you wouldn't be even. Right? It doesn't equal that. So then what can you do? That energy mentioned in the beginning, take that energy, offer it in service to Guru and Vaishnava. Don't waste your time on the people of this world. When I was in a hospital once, and I was, I'm reluctant to call myself a devotee. I was appearing, as a member of the Krishna consciousness movement. And it was a hospital where my brother worked. And it was also where I was born, actually, Bethesda, Maryland, the Naval Hospital there. I was there, and the devotees would come from the Washington, D.C. temple and bring me a little prasadam every day, and we would talk and laugh. And my brother sometimes, he's waiting, he'd see from the sides, like, we're laughing and joking, we're having a good old time. And then he would come, and then the whole mood would change. And then the devotees would go, and then I'd be there like this. And my brother would go, I don't understand, I just saw you you're with your friends, you're laughing, like practically crying with tears. And I know you you have a sense of humor and all that. And now I'm here, and suddenly you're all grave and sober. And I find this hard to believe. He always reminds me, I turned to him and I said, with you, there's nothing to laugh about. In other words, saying, your life, it just makes me want to cry. It's so pathetic. You've wasted your life. you've become a doctor and you've just wasted all your potential. You know, when you were younger, you had some spiritual inclinations. Now you went to the university, got educated, you're a doctor. You've wasted all that time and all that energy on this. And so it makes, you know, I'm feeling unhappiness when I think about your future. So, Hare Krishna.
Next question is from Nisingha Chaitanya Das from USA. Tatastha vichar or impartial analysis can be dangerous for...
I didn't hear the first. Oh, tatastha vichar.
Or impartial analysis can be dangerous for a devotee.
Yeah.
At the same time, we are told, Siddhanta baliya chitte nakara alasa.
Yes.
Don't be lazy in trying to understand Siddhanta. If a devotee can pass through all this by service to a higher Vaishnava, whose choice is that? Where does the opportunity come from? Is it the prerogative of the aspiring devotee or the higher Vaishnava?
It's always the higher Vaishnavas, the genuine devotees of the Lord. So we are reluctant for self-assertion, and what to speak of self-certification, that we're going to analyze something. How many times have we heard Srila Guru Maharaj say on the tape, when they say like, such high topics from a mean mouth. When he says mean, it means small, tiny. That's one meaning of the word mean, is very, what's the word? Yeah, like that. So he will caution himself that, and he, what you're quoting, he's quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying this, that the position of a madhyamadikari, which is at times analytical, is a dangerous one. Because, like we're told, the current, high voltage. Remember Akinchan Maharaj, Bhakti Lalit Akinchan Maharaj. He knows, he's also, in his spare time, besides being Maharaj, he knows everything about building and construction. He's a master craftsman, just as like a side thing, But he always told me he would never do electricity, wiring. That, he'd say, that's for an electrician. As much as he knows, unless it's a very, very simple thing, saying that I'm not familiar, how to handle that current, I don't know. So I leave that to the experts. So we're talking about current, voltage, high voltage. Like when you see the signs, high voltage, and they have the thunderbolt, the lightning bolts, and it's in red, and the big letters, they're telling you this can only be handled by an expert. Right? That's what these prohibitions are about. There are experts who can open that door up and start handling those wires and that current. They know how to do it. And they're also, their approach is very humble, not absent-minded or curiosity or anything like that. Right? Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Very gingerly, they approach that with full concentration, respect at every moment, and the amount, I've seen them work, because we've had to hire these people as well. So it's something like that, and also Guru Maharaj will say, why does he take the name Nityananda, Dayal Nitai, Dayal Nitai? He said, because because Krishna consciousness is the highest thing, invariably by discussing it or trying to represent it, some high things are going to be touched upon, and it's possible that we will mishandle or commit an offense, some sort of aparad. He said, so I'm taking the name of Nityananda Prabhu, praying for his grace to re-situate myself properly. So what I mean to say by mentioning these things is to handle both things, the tatasta vichara being dangerous, but then that sloka encouraging, saying, don't, be afraid to understand particular types of siddhanta, has to be done like very cautiously, very carefully. So Guru Maharaj also told me, sometimes if I asked a question or wanted to understand something further, and he would answer, sort of take it to the next level. But if I started pushing it too much, he could understand, like, curiosity is getting the better part. And he said, you should be careful, you're going to break your head, was his expression. Like, you're going to go up so high, and then there's going to be a crash. So, when Kaviraj Goswami says that in the Charitamritam, he's dealing very delicately with some things himself. And I could say this, and hopefully I won't become a victim of what I'm talking about, as we didn't get an opportunity to say something about Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, because that was the day or so ago. And his divine mother Narayani, that we're told when she was a little girl, she got to take some of the remnants of Mahaprabhu. That alone tells you like how special she is. We can just project and imagine this type of sweet, qualified, divine personality. So later in life, she becomes the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Someone asked Guru Maharaj once, and maybe even Saraswati Thakur, no mention of the father of Vrindavan Das Thakur. And he just said straight, because there's no special significance there. That's why. In other words, what's given to us, it's not just some random presentation in a haphazard way, a little bit from here. It's not being done like that. It's very carefully selected, a very careful presentation. So anyway, his divine mother Narayani, and Vrindavan Das Thakur is perhaps one of the last, like, of a particular quality of associate servitor of Nityananda Prabhu. And he becomes the Vyas of Chaitanya Leela. Right? He's Mahaprabhu's biographer. Right. Is that ours or a different one? Huh? Okay. She always waits for this time to become vocal. Hare Krishna. Has to learn to follow Milo's example. Needs association. Anyway, so Vrindavan Das Thakur composes what is initially called Chaitanya Mangal, and that's the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appreciated by all the devotees. Later, because another book with the title Chaitanya Mangal is composed, his book becomes known as the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And you see repeatedly in Chaitanya Charitamritam how Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is praising Vrindavan Das Thakur and his book. And as so far as saying that actually, in consideration of the substance of Chaitanya Bhagavat and how great it is, and by extension Vrindavan Thakur, that really there was no need, from his point of view, for anything more. But, and they're particularly the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu is there, of course, but so much about the glories of Nityananda Prabhu are there that you realize in time, this Vrindavan Das, he's in love with Nityananda Prabhu. This book is all about Mahaprabhu, that there's so much Nityananda Prabhu there, and necessarily so, but then you realize how much attached he is to Nityananda Prabhu, how much affection he has for him, and how intense it is when he says at different times that, and after invoking the mercy of Gaura Nityananda, he tells these wonderful pastimes. He's saying, if you don't accept their mercy, saying, then I want to kick your teeth in with my left foot. Now here, the Saraswati Thakur will say, the Sahajiyas, they'll say, oh, look, Kaviraj Goswami is so humble. Jagai madhai hoite muise papishta purisharakita hoite murit selagishta. I'm lower than the worm and stool, more sinful than Jagai and madhai. And here in Vrindavan is saying, if you don't accept their mercy, I'm going to kick your teeth in. What is that? That is not humility, And Srila Saraswati Thakur says quite the contrary, that he's saying Vrindavan Das is so merciful because he knows if someone cannot appreciate the mercy of Gaura Nitai, then they're hopeless. So then what can be done for them? He said, just like a child, if a child, especially a little child, like 3-4 years old, when they do something, sometimes they're next to their mother and they go and kick somebody, and then they go back and hide behind their mother's skirt or something. Then the mother, they have to come and apologize to that person. In a sense, they have to offer themselves to that person in compensation for the misbehavior of the child. So Srila Saraswati Thakur, what type of an explanation is this also? We can understand something about his greatness. He's saying, so for those who are hopeless, even after the great magnanimous extension of the combined mercy of Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nityananda, they're somehow bereft of a connection. Through his foot, Vrindavan Das Thakur has created a new channel for that mercy to flow. Because why? This apparent misbehavior of Vrindavan Das will require that Gaur and Nityananda come and offer themselves to that person in compensation. So that tells us something of the greatness of Vrindavan Das Thakur, also of the greatness of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. What an explanation. You won't hear it anywhere else from anybody, and shows the pretenders, the imitationists, what fools they are to decry the position of Vrindavan Das Thakur in the name of exalting Krishna's Kaviraj. That would not please Kaviraj Goswami to hear that. He's always praising Vrindavan Das and saying, his book is perfect, but the situation was such that, these last 16 years, with particular emphasis on the last 12 of Mahaprabhu in Puri, behind closed doors with Srup Damodar, Ramananda, and the beyond closed door, the Rath Yatra pastime. Srup Damodar, he has what is called his Koracha, this notebook. He's writing all these things there. He's the eyewitness to these pastimes of Mahaprabhu and what's going on in private. He knows between he and Ramananda what are the slokas that he's relishing, the poets, that it's, Jayadev, Chandidas, Vidyapati, Krishna Karnamritam of Bilva Mangal Thakur, and the Jagannath Balabanatak of Ramananda himself. Srup Damodar is singing songs. Srup Damodar is Lalita Sakhi, Radharani's right arm, personal secretary, attendant, everything. Right? Sometimes showing superior. Radharani is weak in her interaction with Krishna. Lalita Sakhi, pragalbam, means she's very strong and bold and saying, don't take that from Krishna. We're going to show that Krishna who's boss. Straighten him out. That Tribhanga Lalitam Krishna, bent in three ways. She's always fighting on Radharani's behalf, so that, and I mean, these are divine play and differences. But anyway, so that, just think of it. The book, Vrindavan Das Thakur is a cowherd boy in Goloka Vrindavan, which is super wonderful, and an eternal associate of Nityananda Prabhu. But Guru Maharaj will say, and this is where that Siddhanta Buliya Chite Nakore Ulas sloka comes, that he's writing from a particular perspective, observing from a particular perspective, according to his innate position. And still, it's so extraordinary. Kaviraj Goswami is bowing down 1,000 times to the descriptions of Vrindavan Das Thakur. And wherever he's described something in detail, he won't do anything more than summarize that or just mention it. But, again, Swarup Damodar in Puri, Chaitanya Bhagavat goes up to the pastimes, sannyas pastimes of Nimai Pandit, where he becomes Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And shortly thereafter, it just stops. And with the pastime of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who, when he is finding fault with Jagannath's servitors, because they give the starch cloth, and they don't. We see in India too, at the time of holidays, when the ladies and gents, they get some new cloth to wear for, it's all stiff sometimes. Sometimes they wear but some people say, no, you should wash out, get rid of all the starch. So he's thinking, you're offering to Jagannath, but you're giving that stiff, starchy cloth, which we know, it itches a little, And that night, in a dream, Jagannath and Krishna, Baladev, they come to him and they start slapping his face. Don't try and introduce Vidhi Marg in Jagannath Puri. So it's like when Ramanuja Acharya, he wanted to do that. We're told, while he was sleeping, Jagannath picked him up and dropped him in South India. He woke up. So he's also, don't try and bring the Vidhi Marg here. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi, when he woke up in the morning, his face is all swollen from being slapped by Krishna and Balaram. But he was so happy at the same time. And then it stops. And when you read that, you also think is this an ending? It just seems like it stopped mid-story. And Vrindavan Das at times will imply someone will come. Vyas, there's Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas as a person, but Vyas is also a title, a position. So he's saying other Vyas will come in the future. And Gurudev very beautifully he wrote some poetry where he refers to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami as the Chana Vyas, right? The hidden. Yes. Anyway, so those notes of Swarup Damodar his perspective, Lalita Saki appearing in these pastimes for the internal reasons for the descent of Mahaprabhu, this isn't expressed within the pages of Chaitanya Bhagavat. Right? But it's known to Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, but known particularly to Swarup Damodar. He's recorded all of this. Then who is the follower of Swarup Damodar? As Guru Maharaj saying, Sri Gaurangamatam Swarupa Viditam Rupagrajain Adritam Rupadye Pariveshitam Raghuganai Ashraditam Sevitam. Raghunath Das Goswami receives all of the wealth of Swarup Damodar, right? And he is relishing that, and it's becoming enhanced in the process. Then in the absence, when Swarup Damodar leaves the world, Swarup Damodar, Mahaprabhu, they've left the world, Raghunath Das Goswami, like his Ashavare Amrita Sindhu sloka, implies he has no reason to live anymore. His lifelong aspiration is, he has this service aspiration of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. He feels that that's a diminishing prospect or possibility. So he's thinking to go to, he's in Puri, now Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar, go to Govardhan, Dehi, Nija Nikata Nivasa Dehi Govardhanatvam, see Radha Kunda Govardhan, and then finish his life there. But when he arrives, he finds Rup and Sanatan, and he's thinking, and metaphorically and literally, Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar are in them. This is a very important point. They're not just like stories. We experience this in our life too. After Srila Prabhupada, we couldn't imagine how to go on and what our life could be. We found, again, in Srila Guru Maharaj, really, substantially, and again in Srila Gurudev. So we have some living necessity right, that brings meaning, makes our life meaningful. So, and the case of Srinivasa Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit, and that's similar, following that thread, Karanamrita Bahini, this divine current that's coming down, and discussed by Guru Maharaj in the final chapter of Sri Guru and His Grace. Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karanamrita Vahini. Anyway, that's another subject. But so, when he is there, finds life, prospect, seva, service prospect again, and the association of Rupa and Sanatan. But at that time, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is also in Vrindavan and comes to Radha Kund Govardhan and serves Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami transfers the full wealth of Swarup Damodar, which is, he's called the Bandari, means the manager of the storehouse, the person who keeps all the wealth, like the vault. There's a vault where all the wealth is. That person who's in charge of that, that's Swarup Damodar. Right? What does it say? The Krishna Prem, something, Bandar, like that. So he transfers that wealth, Raghunath Das transfers that to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Then Das Goswami is no longer in the world. When devotees will come, they go to the principal devotees to hear about the Lord, His pastimes, His associates. Right? Ishan was, I believe, a relative of Vishnu Priya. and he's caring for Vishnu Priya and Sachimata, and they live in the world. When Ishan is still there, devotees will come and hear Ishan tell the stories, the pastimes. We still do. Those who knew Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, devotees approach them to hear from them what they observed, what's in their hearts. This is how one of the ways the tradition continues. Right? We shouldn't always think that it's just in a book somewhere or hundreds of years ago. Right? We should avoid that type of thinking. It's right before us. So that Krishnadas, when devotees approach him, he's telling all these things that he heard from Raghunath Das Goswami, Srup Damodar Via Das Goswami, these aspects of the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. And devotees who are very familiar with Chaitanya Bhagavat and what's been written, they realize this sort of thing isn't there. They love hearing Chaitanya Bhagavat. That, who is it? What is his name? Haridas Pandit, who will, it says, he when you have all these Maha Bhagavatas in the audience, and he's reading Chaitanya Bhagavat, he said, they look like so many stars, and he appears to be a moon with, rivers of nectar flowing from his mouth. That's the situation. But those devotees realize the pastimes told by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, these haven't been recorded yet. So they beg Kaviraj Goswami to put it into a written form. And he approaches the principal devotees in Vrindavan to get their blessings and sanction, and up to and including the Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan Vigraha, who give the confirming garland to him. And he says later in the book, Madan Mohan, they're moving my hand, making me write all of these things. So, we don't want anything less than that. And what comes to us. We want it to have that type of authenticity, that type of a source, whether we're studying, hearing, serving, whatever it is. We want it to be a reality transaction. So anyway, there, Kaviraj Goswami will say things like, yes, we can say, when we talk about the avatars, incarnation, Mahaprabhu himself explained this to Sanatana Goswami in the Sanatana Shiksha. Now there's Krishna, and then there's Balaram, and, Maha Sankarshan, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, the first quadruple, the second quadruple, the Purusha avatars, the Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Shaktavesh avatars. He's telling all these, so many wonderful, amazing things there. And he said, then when it comes to these so-called Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, and how all the worlds are coming from the pores of Mahavishnu, the universes are coming out, and then Padmanabha, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu entering there, filling half the universe with water, lying down from his navel, Padmanabha, the lotus flower opens with Lord Brahma born on top, 14 planetary systems. Then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kiradakshaya Vishnu enters into those universes, each universe, and also extends himself as the Paramatma. And and as a side gig, Guna avatar. So Kaviraj Goswami is saying, it's not untrue to say that he's Kiradakshaya Vishnu, but is that the best thing we We like Radha Bhava Subulita Nomi Krishna Swarupam. We can't forget that. That's, as Tarun Kandi goes in, Amar Gauranga. It's Radha Bhava Duti Subalita, enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani. So Krishna was saying, yeah, and this Vishnu, that, and all true. But here, don't be afraid to hear these other things. Don't be afraid to hear them. They're coming from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami or Ramananda. The Rasik Bhakta is Ramananda Roy, not the man in the street. Ek Ramananda, according to Mahaprabhu. That implies a certain standard. So we hear from him, not, oh, on the internet it says this and that, and I bought a book in Loy Bazaar. Not like that. Ek Ramananda. So, and Srila Guru Maharaj is such an expert on the Ramananda Sambad, a dialogue with Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. He said that's where his ontological method springs from. That his birth name was Ramendra Chandra Bhattacharya. At the time of initiation, became Ramendra Sundar. And when Guru Maharaj asked, how do we understand Raman? Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Saraswati Thakur told, Raman, Radha, Radha Raman. That Rama means Krishna also. Anyway, then, and Hare, the greatest thieving capacity. Krishna is celebrated as a thief, but Radharani can steal Krishna. Hara, Hare. So then his name becomes Ramendra Sundar. Then he becomes known for this affinity for Ramananda Sambad and his ability to extract for there and represent that. So Saraswati Thakur named him again Ramananda Das. So in the concluding slokas of the Premadama Stotram, it mentions Ramananda Das. Ek Ramananda. Sridhar Swami Prasade Bhagavata Jani Jagat Guru Sridhar Swami Guru Korimani. Ek Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Hare Krishna. We're happy with Ekalaka Nam, the particular quality of representation of Krishna conception. Once being exposed to that in a substantial way, other representations seem somewhat diminished, lacking, partial. But we are not that. That is our Guru Varga. We want to serve them, offer ourselves in service to them. And if they're pleased with that, some of the wealth that's in their heart, that conception, that understanding, that love and affection will make an impression upon our hearts. That's our hope. That's our aspiration. Hare Krishna.